The massive alien ships hung in the sky like dark storm clouds, their hulls reflecting the morning sunlight. On the bridge of the lead vessel, Commander First Rank Smith of the Earth Defense Force stood silent before the towering alien leader. The creature's metallic blue skin gleamed under the harsh lights as it looked down at the human with four golden eyes. "Your weapons are toys," the alien commander said through the translator. "We have studied your military capabilities. You still use primitive projectile weapons while we harness the power of plasma and energy." The alien's mouth split into what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. Smith kept his face neutral, though his hand wanted to curl into a fist. Behind him, two junior officers exchanged worried glances. The aliens had arrived 3 days ago, their fleet of 30 ships taking up positions around Earth's major cities. They called themselves the Dominion, and they had come to add Earth to their empire. "Perhaps we could demonstrate our weapons for you," Smith offered carefully. "Show you why we still use them." The alien commander waved a six-fingered hand dismissively. "We have seen your weapons in action during our observation period. Simple chemical propellants launching metal projectiles. Our personal shields can stop anything moving at such velocities. They were designed to defeat weapons far more advanced than yours." In a secure bunker 500 feet below the Pentagon, Captain Reed of Earth's Joint Special Operations Command watched the exchange on a secure feed. His weathered face was illuminated by multiple screens showing tactical data from around the globe. The aliens had allowed this meeting as a courtesy before they began their invasion, confident in their technological superiority. "Sir," a young lieutenant spoke up, "we're getting data from the scans of their shield technology. There's something interesting in the energy patterns." Reed moved to the lieutenant's station, studying the complex graphs and readings. 20 years of combat experience had taught him that every advanced technology had a weakness. The aliens' arrogance might just help them find it. "Look at how their shields react to different velocities," the lieutenant pointed out. "They're optimized for extremely high-speed impacts and energy weapons, but the response curve for slower projectiles shows some unusual characteristics." Reed's eyes narrowed as he studied the data. "Get me every sniper team leader on a secure line." Now, back on the alien ship, the Dominion commander was still lecturing about the superiority of their technology. "Your nuclear weapons have already been neutralized by our field technology. Your aircraft cannot penetrate our defensive screens. Your ground forces will be useless against our hover tanks and power armor. The only logical choice is surrender." Smith listened patiently, remembering his orders. Keep them talking. Let them show off. The more they revealed about their technology, the better. "What about our infantry weapons?" Smith asked innocently. "Surely they pose no threat to your advanced armor." The alien commander barked what might have been a laugh. "Your projectile weapons are even more obsolete than we expected. Our scouts report that you still employ specialist warriors who use primitive long-range rifles. Imagine, in this age of energy weapons, still using powder and lead." A subtle smile touched Smith's lips. The aliens had no idea that their dismissal of human primitive technology might be their biggest mistake. Even now, he knew that Earth's military leaders would be analyzing every scrap of data, looking for weaknesses. The aliens thought their technology made them invincible. They were about to learn that humanity had spent centuries perfecting the art of warfare with projectile weapons. As if reading his thoughts, the alien commander's expression shifted slightly. "You seem amused, Commander Smith. Do you find something humorous about your situation?" "Not at all," Smith replied smoothly. "I was just thinking about an old human saying, 'Pride goes before a fall.'" The alien commander didn't understand the phrase, but he would. Soon, Master Sergeant Tom Walker lay perfectly still in the cold mountain grass, his camouflaged form blending with the natural surroundings. Through his high-powered scope, he watched an alien patrol moving through the valley below. Their armor gleamed dully in the early morning light, and their energy shields created slight distortions in the air around them. 3 days had passed since the aliens began their ground invasion. They had expected Earth to fall quickly, But something was wrong with their plans. Their patrols kept disappearing in the mountainous regions, and they couldn't figure out why. Walker's radio crackled softly. "Control to Ghost One. We've got the test data from the last engagement. You're going to want to hear this." He keyed his mic twice to acknowledge, keeping his eyes on the patrol. Behind him, his spotter, Dave Miller, was already taking notes on wind speed and atmospheric conditions. "Their shields," the voice continued quietly, "they're designed to stop things moving at extremely high speeds. Energy weapons, hypersonic projectiles, plasma, all the fancy stuff. But here's the thing. They never expected anyone to use slower rounds." Walker's eyes narrowed as he processed this information. It made sense. The aliens had developed their technology to fight enemies with similar weapons. They'd never encountered a species that still used chemical propellants and brass cartridges. "The lab boys modified some 50 calories rounds," Control explained. "Heavier than standard, moving at subsonic speeds. The alien shields treat them like slow-moving debris. They barely react at all." Miller shifted slightly beside Walker. "That explains what happened near Baker Ridge," he whispered. "The team there was using old Soviet heavy ball ammunition. They thought they just got lucky." Walker watched as the alien patrol moved into perfect position. The wind was steady, the humidity stable, everything a sniper needed for a perfect shot. He'd been doing this for 20 years, teaching other snipers for the last 10. The aliens thought this kind of warfare was obsolete. They were wrong. "Ghost One to Control," Walker whispered. "Permission to test the theory." "Granted. Show us what you can do, Ghost One." Walker made minute adjustments to his rifle, a modified M107 that now fired specially developed subsonic rounds. The aliens below had no idea they were being watched. Their sensors were tuned for energy weapons and high-velocity projectiles, not the slow, heavy bullet Walker was about to send their way. "Range, 2,300 meters, Miller murmured. "Wind holding steady at 3 knots from the west. Temperature stable. Humidity 30%. Walker took a slow, steady breath. Time seemed to slow down as years of training took over. The aliens thought human snipers were a joke, relics of a primitive past. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The rifle's report was surprisingly quiet with the subsonic round. Through his scope, Walker watched the bullet's trace as it arsed through the morning air. The alien patrol leader never saw it coming. The round passed through his shield like it wasn't even there, finding its mark with deadly accuracy. Chaos erupted in the valley as the aliens scrambled for cover, their sensors useless against this unknown threat. They fired energy weapons wildly, but Walker and Miller were already moving to their secondary position, leaving no trace behind. "Ghost One to Control," Walker reported quietly. "Theory confirmed. Their shields might as well be tissue paper against subsonic rounds. Request permission to begin writing the new playbook." "Granted, Ghost One. The other teams are standing by. Teach them everything." As Walker and Miller made their way through the mountain forest, they could hear the aliens still searching the wrong area. Their advanced technology was working against them now. They were looking for high-tech threats, while Earth's primitive warriors were about to change the course of the war. "You know what's funny?" Miller said as they reached their extraction point. "They spent all that time making shields to stop the fastest things in the universe. Never occurred to them that slow and steady might win the race." Walker allowed himself a small smile. The aliens were about to learn a very old lesson. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. Snow fell softly on the Ural Mountains as 200 sniper teams took their positions. The aliens had launched their biggest offensive yet, sending a massive force to crush Earth's resistance once and for all. They had no idea they were walking into a trap. Walker and Miller lay under their snow camouflage, watching through their scopes as the alien army moved through the valley below. Hover tanks floated above the snow while armored troops marched in formation, their energy shields creating a slight shimmer in the falling snow. "All teams report ready," Miller whispered, checking the radio communications. Weather conditions are perfect. Low wind, good visibility. Walker smiled slightly. The aliens had chosen to attack in a snowstorm, thinking their advanced sensors gave them an advantage in poor weather. They didn't understand that Earth's military had been fighting in these conditions for centuries. "Control, this is Ghost One." Walker spoke quietly into his radio. "Primary targets are in position. Permission to begin Operation Avalanche." Captain Reed's voice came back clear and confident. "Ghost One, you have permission. Give them hell." Walker took a deep breath of the cold mountain air. "All teams, on my mark. Remember your training. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast." The alien army continued to advance, their commanders confident in their superior technology. Their sensors showed nothing dangerous nearby. Their shields were at full power. Their energy weapons were charged and ready. 3, 2, 1, mark. 200 shots rang out almost as one. 200 heavy subsonic rounds arced through the snow-filled air. 200 alien commanders and senior officers fell before they knew what hit them. Chaos erupted in the alien ranks. Without their leaders, their rigid command structure began to fall apart. As they had learned in training, aliens relied too heavily on orders from above. They weren't trained to think independently like human soldiers. "Second volley," Walker commanded. "Target their communication officers." Another wave of perfectly aimed shots cut through the alien forces. Their communication networks went dark. Individual units lost contact with each other. The carefully planned offensive turned into confusion. "Their hover tanks are moving to protect the remaining officers," Miller reported. "But they're bunching up. Exactly like we wanted." Walker switched to his radio's general frequency. "Artillery teams, you have your targets." The mountain ridges erupted as hidden artillery batteries opened fire. They weren't using high-explosive shells. Those would have been stopped by alien shields. Instead, they fired special rounds developed using the same principles as the sniper ammunition. Slow, heavy, and devastating. The aliens' perfect formation dissolved into panic. Their sensors, designed to detect energy weapons and high-speed projectiles, were useless. Their shields, optimized for stopping plasma bolts and laser fire, might as well have been paper. "They're trying to retreat," Miller said with satisfaction. "But they don't know which way is safe. Every path out of the valley is covered by our teams." For the next hour, the sniper teams methodically took apart the alien army. Every time they tried to reorganize, their new leaders were picked off. Every time they tried to call for help, their communication officers fell. Their mighty army, which had expected an easy victory, was being defeated by weapons they had dismissed as primitive. Back at Earth's command center, Captain Reed watched the battle unfold on his screens. The alien army, over 50,000 strong, was being systematically destroyed by just 200 sniper teams and a handful of artillery batteries. "Sir," a junior officer reported, "we're picking up transmissions from the alien fleet. They're asking for an emergency council meeting. I think they want to talk about ending the war." Reed nodded slowly. "Send word to all teams. Operation Avalanche is a success. The turning point we've been waiting for has arrived." In the mountains, Walker watched as the last alien units surrendered. Their mighty technology had been defeated by human skill, patience, and understanding of simple physics. Sometimes, the oldest lessons were the most important ones. Snow fell softly on the Ural Mountains as 200 sniper teams took their positions. The aliens had launched their biggest offensive yet, sending a massive force to crush Earth's resistance once and for all. They had no idea they were walking into a trap. Walker and Miller lay under their snow camouflage, watching through their scopes as the alien army moved through the valley below. Hover tanks floated above the snow while armored troops marched in formation, their energy shields creating a slight shimmer in the falling snow. "All teams report ready," Miller whispered, checking the radio communications. "Weather conditions are perfect. Low wind, good visibility." Walker smiled slightly. The aliens had chosen to attack in a snowstorm, thinking their advanced sensors gave them an advantage in poor weather. They didn't understand that Earth's military had been fighting in these conditions for centuries. "Control, this is Ghost One." Walker spoke quietly into his radio. "Primary targets are in position. Permission to begin Operation Avalanche." Captain Reed's voice came back clear and confident. "Ghost One, you have permission. Give them hell." Walker took a deep breath of the cold mountain air. "All teams, on my mark. Remember your training. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast." The alien army continued to advance, their commanders confident in their superior technology. Their sensors showed nothing dangerous nearby. Their shields were at full power. Their energy weapons were charged and ready. 3, 2, 1, mark. 200 shots rang out almost as one. 200 heavy subsonic rounds arced through the snow-filled air. 200 alien commanders and senior officers fell before they knew what hit them. Chaos erupted in the alien ranks. Without their leaders, their rigid command structure began to fall apart. As they had learned in training, aliens relied too heavily on orders from above. They weren't trained to think independently like human soldiers. "Second volley," Walker commanded. "Target their communication officers." Another wave of perfectly aimed shots cut through the alien forces. Their communication networks went dark. Individual units lost contact with each other. The carefully planned offensive turned into confusion. "Their hover tanks are moving to protect the remaining officers," Miller reported. "But they're bunching up. Exactly like we wanted." Walker switched to his radio's general frequency. "Artillery teams, you have your targets." The mountain ridges erupted as hidden artillery batteries opened fire. They weren't using high-explosive shells. Those would have been stopped by alien shields. Instead, they fired special rounds developed using the same principles as the sniper ammunition. Slow, heavy, and devastating. The aliens' perfect formation dissolved into panic. Their sensors, designed to detect energy weapons and high-speed projectiles, were useless. Their shields, optimized for stopping plasma bolts and laser fire, might as well have been paper. "They're trying to retreat," Miller said with satisfaction. "But they don't know which way is safe. Every path out of the valley is covered by our teams." For the next hour, the sniper teams methodically took apart the alien army. Every time they tried to reorganize, their new leaders were picked off. Every time they tried to call for help, their communication officers fell. Their mighty army, which had expected an easy victory, was being defeated by weapons they had dismissed as primitive. Back at Earth's command center, Captain Reed watched the battle unfold on his screens. The alien army, over 50,000 strong, was being systematically destroyed by just 200 sniper teams and a handful of artillery batteries. "Sir," a junior officer reported, "we're picking up transmissions from the alien fleet. They're asking for an emergency council meeting. I think they want to talk about ending the war." Reed nodded slowly. "Send word to all teams. Operation Avalanche is a success. The turning point we've been waiting for has arrived." In the mountains, Walker watched as the last alien units surrendered. Their mighty technology had been defeated by human skill, patience, and understanding of simple physics. Sometimes, the oldest lessons were the most important ones. The Rocky Mountains stood silent under a blanket of early morning mist. In 5 different positions around a steep valley, Walker's team waited patiently. Below them sat the aliens' forward command post, a collection of sleek structures that gleamed like polished metal in the dim light. "Target positions confirmed," Miller whispered into his radio. "All teams, sound off." One by one, the other 4 sniper teams reported in. Each had spent the last 3 hours slowly moving into position in the darkness. The alien sensors couldn't detect them, a fact that still filled their enemies with confusion and anger. "Remember," Walker's voice was barely a whisper, "wait for my shot. After that, hit your assigned targets in sequence, just like we practiced." The alien command post was buzzing with activity. 3 days of mysterious attacks had made them nervous. Their patrols kept disappearing. Their supply lines were being disrupted, and their sensors couldn't find the cause. They had doubled their shield strength and increased their patrol ranges, but nothing helped. Through his scope, Walker could see the alien commander stomping around the command center, gesturing angrily at his subordinates. The translation intercepts had revealed their frustration. How could primitive humans be causing so much trouble? Their technology was superior in every way. Wind steady at 2 knots, Miller reported. Humidity stable, temperature holding at 45 degrees. Distance to primary target, 2,500 meters. Walker made his final adjustments. The modified rifle felt comfortable in his hands, loaded with the new subsonic ammunition that had proven so effective. The aliens still hadn't figured out why their shields failed to stop these particular rounds. All teams, prepare to fire, Walker whispered. Remember, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. He took a deep breath, then slowly exhaled. The alien commander moved into perfect position, standing in front of a large display screen showing their battle plans. Walker's finger tightened on the trigger. The shot broke the morning silence. Through his scope, Walker watched the heavy round arc through the air, moving almost slowly enough to follow. The alien commander never saw it coming. One moment he was berating his staff, the next he was down. Chaos erupted in the command post, but before the aliens could react, 4 more shots rang out in quick succession. 4 more critical targets fell. The alien staff ran in confusion, their sensors still unable to detect where the attack was coming from. Second volley, Walker commanded. Hit their communication arrays. 5 more shots. 5 communication towers fell. The alien command post was now cut off from their main force. They're bringing up their hover tanks, Miller reported. 3 of them, moving to sweep the ridgeline. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Let them come. They're looking in the wrong place. The hover tanks rose into the air, their energy weapons charging. They began systematically scanning the nearby ridges, exactly where the aliens thought human snipers would hide. But Walker's team had trained for this. They were much further back, well beyond what the aliens considered possible range for primitive weapons. All teams withdraw to secondary positions, Walker ordered. Mission accomplished. As they carefully backed away from their firing positions, the team could hear the aliens' frustration through their intercepted communications. How had they lost their command post to invisible attackers? Why couldn't their sensors detect anything? Where were these impossible shots coming from? You know what the funny thing is? Miller said as they made their way through the forest. They still think it has to be some kind of advanced technology we're using. They can't accept that we're beating them with skills and training. Walker nodded. Pride is blinding them. They're so convinced of their superiority that they can't see the truth, and that's going to cost them this war. Back at base, Captain Reed watched the data from the operation with satisfaction. The aliens had lost their entire regional command structure in less than 5 minutes. Their battle plans were in chaos, their communications disrupted, and their confidence shaken. Send word to all commands, Reed ordered. Operation Longshot is a success. Begin Phase 2. The war was about to change, and the aliens didn't even know it yet. The alien flagship's meeting chamber was silent. On the massive display screen, footage from the disaster in the Urals played on repeat. The Supreme Commander of the Dominion forces watched as his supposedly invincible army fell apart under attacks they couldn't even detect. Show me again, he ordered, his voice heavy with disbelief. Show me how they did it. The science officer nervously adjusted the controls. The footage zoomed in on a single moment, an alien officer falling despite his shields being at full power. Advanced sensors had finally captured the path of one of the mysterious human projectiles. As you can see, Supreme Commander, the science officer explained, the human weapon fires a projectile that moves slowly. Slowly, another officer scoffed. How can a slow projectile be effective? The science officer brought up a detailed analysis. Our shields are designed to stop objects moving at extreme velocities. Energy weapons, plasma bolts, even our own projectile weapons, all move at hypersonic speeds. But these human rounds, he paused, almost embarrassed. They move just fast enough to be lethal, but slow enough that our shields treat them like falling debris. In the Earth's command center, Walker stood with Captain Reed, watching the intercepted alien transmission. The aliens had finally called for a meeting to discuss terms, but first, they needed to understand how they had been defeated. They still don't fully get it, Walker said, shaking his head. They think it's just about the speed of the bullets. Reed nodded. They can't understand that it's not just the weapons. It's the skill, the training, the centuries of experience. We didn't just develop the guns, we developed the art of using them. Back on the alien flagship, the Supreme Commander was growing increasingly angry. Why did none of our scientists predict this? How did we miss such a basic flaw in our defenses? A junior officer stepped forward, holding a human sniper rifle captured in battle. Sir, we made a critical error. We assumed that because our technology was more advanced, we didn't need to understand older weapons. We never studied how they work, never learned their strengths and weaknesses. The science officer brought up more data. The humans have been perfecting these weapons for centuries. While we focused on energy weapons and shields, they mastered the physics of ballistic warfare. They can shoot accurately at distances we thought impossible with primitive weapons. And they're snipers, another officer added. They don't just point and shoot. They account for wind, temperature, humidity, the curve of the planet, all without computers. We thought they were primitive, but they've turned physics itself into an art form. In a secure room deep beneath the Pentagon, Earth's military leaders watched the alien transmission with satisfaction. General Thompson turned to Reed and Walker. They're finally beginning to understand, Thompson said, but it might be too late for them. How many sniper teams do we have deployed now? Reed checked his tablet. Over 1,000, sir, with more completing training every day. We can hit any alien position on Earth within hours. They have no defense against our tactics. And more importantly, Walker added, they can't copy what we've done. Their entire military doctrine is built around high-tech solutions. They don't have the training infrastructure, the experience, or the mindset to develop sniping skills like ours. It would take them decades to catch up. On the alien flagship, the Supreme Commander made his decision. Send the message to Earth's leaders. We need to discuss terms of withdrawal. We cannot win this war. As the message was sent, the science officer stared at the captured sniper rifle. How strange, he mused, to be defeated not by superior technology, but by skills we thought were obsolete. Perhaps we have much to learn from these humans. The Supreme Commander looked out at Earth through the ship's viewport. We called them primitive, he said quietly, but they proved that sometimes the old ways are the most effective. We forgot that technology alone does not win wars. 1 year after the Battle of the Urals, Walker stood at a podium in a strange place, an alien military academy. Behind him, a group of alien officers watched intently as he demonstrated the basics of ballistic warfare. It still felt surreal, teaching the very beings who had once dismissed human weapons as primitive. The key isn't the technology, Walker explained, holding up one of the modified rounds that had changed the course of the war. It's understanding the fundamentals. Physics doesn't care how advanced your civilization is. Gravity affects everything the same way. The peace treaty had come with an unusual requirement from Earth. The aliens had to learn from their mistakes. Part of that meant studying the military techniques they had once mocked. Walker and other instructors had been sent to help them understand what they had missed in their rush to advance technology. In Earth's military headquarters, Captain Reed reviewed the latest reports with satisfaction. The alien fleet had withdrawn from Earth's orbit, replaced by a joint defense force. Human sniper teams now trained alongside alien technical experts, each learning from the other's strengths. They're finally getting it, Reed told his staff. Yesterday, An alien student calculated a long-range shot without using their computer systems. First time that's ever happened in their history. Miller, now a senior instructor, smiled at that. They're learning that sometimes you need to feel the shot, not just calculate it. Though I have to admit, their energy weapons technology is impressive when used correctly. The biggest change had come in the aliens' military structure. They had abandoned their rigid command system, learning from how Earth's forces could operate independently. Their new doctrine combined their advanced technology with human tactical flexibility. "Sir," a young officer reported to Reed, "the Alien Defense Council wants to know if we'll help them redesign their shields. They want to protect against both high and low-velocity threats." Reed nodded. "Tell them yes, but remind them of the deal. For every piece of technology they share with us, we share a piece of our military experience with them." Fair exchange. On the alien homeworld, their supreme commander stood before his ruling council, delivering his final report on the Earth War as it had come to be known. "We were arrogant," he admitted. "We thought that because we could travel between stars, we knew everything about warfare. The humans taught us differently. They showed us that true military strength comes from understanding the basics, not just having the most advanced weapons." The council chambers buzzed with discussion. On the screens around them, footage showed alien troops learning Earth's combat techniques, while human soldiers studied alien technology. It was an exchange that would change both civilizations. Back in the Rocky Mountains, where it had all started, Walker took a break from teaching to visit his old sniper position, the spot where he had first proven that alien shields could be beaten. A small plaque now marked the location, though few knew its significance. "Thinking deep thoughts?" Miller asked, joining him at the overlook. Walker smiled, just remembering how it all started. They came here thinking they were invincible, left learning that sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. "And now they're our students," Miller chuckled. "Never thought I'd see the day when I'd be teaching an alien how to calculate windage without a computer." In orbit above Earth, alien and human ships patrolled together. Each had learned from the other. The aliens had gained an appreciation for fundamental skills and simple solutions. Humans had gained access to advanced technology, while proving that their primitive methods still had value. "You know what the best part is," Walker said, looking up at the stars. "They're not just learning our techniques, they're understanding why we developed them. Why we never stopped improving the basics even as we advanced. That's the real lesson they needed." The war had changed everything, not just for Earth, but for the entire alien empire. They had arrived thinking they would find primitive savages with outdated weapons. They left having learned that true advancement means respecting the foundations of warfare, not just chasing the newest technology. Sometimes, the old ways really are the best ways.